So I just wanted to make a really quick video talking about 6XL and how to fight against it. I noticed a lot of you guys are struggling against it and you're not exactly sure what to do. And I think the root of the problem is you don't understand all the options that come out of 6XL and what 6XL does for the opponent and what it does for you. So at the very base level, 6XL simply gives you positive 2 frames. So after hitting it, you get plus 2 frames. I'm going to start with the first option. The first option off of 6XL is to just press L again. So 6XL into L goes into each other and it frame traps, meaning if the opponent presses their fastest button to try to stop you from attacking, they will just get hit. So every time an opponent hits you with 6XL, you simply just kind of have to block, because their buttons will just come out faster than yours just because of those plus 2 frames. Here I have Jita set to doing her fastest button after blocking. And as you can see, it comes out at 6 frames. But if I press light again, I hit her. And then I can go into like a light auto combo or whatever. I was a little slow there on clicking, so I didn't get it. But you got the idea. If she presses her fastest button, I still beat her. The next thing to know is that a lot of characters' L button has plus frames on it itself. So 6XL into L, especially the close L, gives like plus 3 frames, at least on Narmaya, for example. So it's plus 3 frames, meaning that I can go back into a 6XL and restart the pressure, or I can do a medium, and at the range that it puts me at, there's 5L will most likely whiff, so they have to do a medium. And my medium versus their medium, assuming they're around the same frames, even if they're a little bit off, my medium will come out far faster than theirs because I get plus 3 frames. That means like they only have a 6 frame window and their fastest button is 6 frames. So the only way they can actually hit me, especially because of distancing, is with a 5M. So you can kind of see the problem here. On defense, you're just kind of stuck blocking kind of whatever the opponent does as soon as they hit a 6XL. So you have to block the pressure. Now what makes it even harder to deal with is that since you're afraid of 6XL, the best way to stop that kind of pressure is just to hit them before they even start 6XL. And this is kind of where it gets a little hard because of the spacing that you can get with 6XL. For example, you can see I didn't do it that deep and I get plus 2 frames at this distance. Even though my 5L whiffs, I still have plus 2 frames to hit a button. And on top of that, you have to be aware of certain options that the character has specifically. For example, Narmaya, even if I hit a 6XL here, what Narmaya can do specifically, especially if she's in her blue stance, is she can do this flip move that's plus 1 and places me in your face. So it makes it very hard, depending on the character as well, to be aware of what options they have. Because after a 6XL, even if they're not spaced super close, certain characters get certain advantages. For example, like even Narmaya has like her EX slash plus 2 as well. So after I do EX slash, maybe you try to press a button after that, boom, you get medium. So there's just a lot of options you can do out of 6XL, and all of them are in favor of the attacker. And then on top of that, let's say they're at a distance where you're uncomfortable with trying to hit a button because 6XL kind of hits pretty far. They might just straight up run up and throw you just because they know you're gonna block. If they know you're gonna block, they can just not 6XL and run up and throw. I talk about this a lot in all of my guide videos. This is a very key tool that you're gonna use at every level. You're gonna mix your 6XL with a run up and throw, and in this case you're gonna have to tech the throw. And if you didn't know, teching throws is just by pressing the light and U button, or there's actually a dedicated button to throw, which you can also press to tech the throw. So here we're gonna get into a more advanced thing about 6XL, but it's not necessarily gonna be applicable to all players. So intermediate to good players will understand that after a 6XL, you're actually on the attacker side a little bit in danger to DP. So for example, even though we already established that my 6XL into L frame traps, if I try to do it here, DP, because it's a frame 1 invincible move, will go through the frame trap and hit me out of it, putting me in a position where I lose all the advantage that I had prior. As you see, you can kind of see my L come out, and I just get hit with a DP. So one thing you can do to fight 6XL, which I kind of don't recommend, but at the same time kind of do, is to DP every once in a while after they start their pressure with 6XL. Oftentimes you can catch them with that, trying to press a button to keep their pressure going, but the thing is, if they block, they just get a huge punish. So I would recommend just getting more used to defending against 6XL rather than trying to counterattack it with a DP, but it is something to note. So if you're attacking with 6XL and you know the opponent does this a lot, you can just straight up 6XL and then hold back to block, and then boom, you get a huge punish. So now we also have throw. We already talked about throw on the run up, but now you have to worry about throw after the initial 6XL. And what do I mean by that? It means after the 6XL, sometimes you'll see opponents, instead of doing an L, they might walk up again and try to grab you. So because I hit deep here, I can literally walk up slightly and then grab him. And it's quite hard to react to. As you can see, if I don't walk up slightly, I can't get the grab. But if I walk up slightly, I get grabbed. So it's something that you might need to worry about as well, is if the opponent might go from like 6XL to 6XL like back to back because they know you're not going to press buttons, or the opponent is going to go 6XL, walk up, grab. So there's like different ways to abuse the fact that you know the opponent is most likely gonna defend after 6XL. After recording, I just remembered to mention this. You do have the option of a shimmy after the 6XL. So naturally, the 6XL puts you out of the range of the opponent's grab range as well as your grab range. But if you move forward, now you're in grab range. So if the opponent's trying to read your throw based on how you move forward, you can move forward slightly into throw range and then back up so that they whiff the throw. From there, you can punish with whatever button that's fast enough to punish the throw, and you can kind of abuse distancing because of 6XL. So this is where you see me talk about like poking a lot and using buttons on defense, because oftentimes if an opponent realizes you're only defending, it will cause you to be super easy to open up by just either walking up and throwing, or doing another 6XL and now you have to block their pressure again, or they might just like, depending on the character, they might have command grab, they might have certain options to open you up, maybe they have traps that they can set up if they know you're defending. Just defending far too much and allowing the opponent to run their game plan will destroy you. So oftentimes you'll see me hit a crouching light or a standing light just to check the opponent to make sure that they're respecting that I press buttons too, and they can't just like walk up and run up and throw and just 6XL into 6XL over and over and over. That way you have some presence. It is risky because, as we already kind of established, that 6XL has so many options that they can do, but it's something that you kinda have to represent. If you don't represent these options, they will not respect your defense. So on your end, it's going to take a lot of experience and a lot of being able to read your opponent, which will come from experience. But just be aware that you are going to get destroyed by players that use 6XL very well. Let's say even you're a character that has a very interesting win condition. For example, let's say you're playing a character that has a very interesting win condition like Zeta. You say you 6XL right here, you get your +2, you know they're not going to defend or anything. You can do something a little bit risky where you jump over them and then start doing pogo pressure. And I have a whole video on Zeta, so I won't cover like pogo pressure, but you can go into like one of your good win conditions, which is pogo pressure, and really mix up the opponent. Another character that can abuse 6XL if you don't respect them, Cagliostro. Let's say you just got 6XL'd and they want to add pressure. They can jump trap, and if they know you're gonna block or they want to be a little risky with it, they can definitely do that. Or a better option is maybe even EX trap. It gives them the hit stun from the trap, and it places one at your feet, making it a little bit difficult for you to kind of maneuver around. It gives them a lot of like free space to just 6XL and do stuff, and it doesn't. You have to kind of deal with the trap by hitting it and getting rid of it. Depending on the character you're playing, 6XL might even benefit you even more. And just to quickly kind of go over what you should do on defense necessarily is, number one, look if the opponent is running in too deep. If they're running in extremely deep and they hit 6XL a little bit too late, you can actually just grab them. Because you have to remember that this is still kind of like an attack for you, and it's by far the fastest move you can do. The only issue is, of course, it's very short. It's like very short range. I don't know why, but I feel like Narmaya's is kind of crazy. It feels like it sucks them in almost. But the point still stands. It's actually a still very good tool to actually throw. You can even back throw them to get them into the corner if you're in the corner. So it's a pretty good way to kind of challenge if they're really close. The more common option that I usually represent is definitely L and standing L, crouching L and standing L. And I know I said you should probably avoid this, but oftentimes I'll just DP on defense if I really think they're going to commit to the offense. It's kind of a hard read, like I said earlier, and you will have to learn how to do that yourself, but it is a still pretty good option to actually represent. The last thing that by far is going to save you is guard counter. So I have Jita set to do a very basic like frame trap with 6XL, and guard counter is going to get you out of the sticky situation, and it's a very good way to just get out of the corner. Guard counter is a great way. So she's going to do this, and then I can just guard counter to get her off. It does cost a bravery stack. I just want to say that. It does cost a bravery stock. It didn't really show it because I have it on regen, but you can kind of see it up there. Even in the corner, let's say you just ended your turn and now it's their turn and they run up 6XL. You can't just guard counter to get them back into the corner, and then you can start your pressure again. So there's a lot of usage for guard counter, and I highly recommend experimenting with how to use it. I often kind of try to keep one stock just for guard crush combos, but it's not necessary and it might be suboptimal in my opinion. It's just something I'm messing around with and trying to figure out myself. But I recommend use your stocks and use the L buttons, use the throw, use any tool that you can possibly do to kind of get out of the corner, but you do have to be aware of what the opponent can do as well.